Hello everybody, this is Pun Frugal Streamer, and I wanted to talk about scenes and sources. One of the things that is difficult to wrap your head around is all the different scenes and sources that you can design within your live stream setup. So Streamlabs really makes it easy with SLOBS, and I wanted to go through it real quick, kind of show you different ones that I think will be key to you, and to kind of explain some that you may use later. But I'm going to go through it, show you how to set up a scene real quick, and hopefully it won't take too long, but there is a lot to go over, so just stay tuned and we will get through each of these things, and hopefully you'll come out on the other end with a lot more knowledge and a better understanding of how to get your live stream going. Okay, so this is what we come up with when you first start up Streamlabs and you've logged in to your Twitch account or your YouTube account. And this is what we're working with. This is the base UI. So what your scene is this black area, this black rectangle. Okay, for mine is set to my resolution of my monitor, which I recommend everybody do. Set your base resolution. You can do that under settings and go to video, and under your base or your canvas resolution, set it to whatever you want it to be. In my case, I want it to be the resolution of my monitor, so 1080p. And then, of course, if you want to scale it down, whatever you can. But that is what I have set up here. And so now anything that I build will be in 1080p resolution on here. And then for streaming or whatever, I'll downscale it to 720p. So to start a scene, first of all, what you want to do is you want to make a new scene collection. But you can make your own scene collection if you want. You can rename this one here. But I'll make a new scene collection, and let's call it Pun Stream. Okay. There we go. So we got a scene collection there, and now what we're going to do is we're going to add a new scene. So let's say we're going to do a gameplay scene here. So now we got a gameplay scene. And so now you have basically a repository for all your sources that you're going to add to this specific scene. So there is a number of sources that you have available within Streamlabs OBS. And here they have split it up into two areas. Your standard sources and your widget sources. Now, standard sources are what people would normally think of when they're using normal OBS. And that is stuff like display capture, game capture, video capture devices, all this stuff here, text. This is stuff that, if you're familiar with using previous versions of OBS, this is the standard stuff that we use. For anybody that is new, these are various things that you could use that are built into OBS and ways to display things that you're showing on your monitor, ways that you can input things that come from URLs. Such as stuff from Streamlabs or websites, ways to capture audio channels based on different Windows playback features or record features, video capture devices like video capture cards such as Elgato or Avermedia, and so on and so forth. So what we'll do is, first of all, let's talk about how you would capture gameplay. There's a number of ways that you can do this. The most common way for single PC streamers is through game capture. And so what we'll do is we'll just make a game capture source, and we're going to add this source to this gameplay scene. And you can name this whatever you want. I'll just leave it as game capture. And so you get a little UI here. More than likely what you want to do is you just want to leave this as it is, okay? Because what that'll do is if you have a full screen game, okay, it will automatically hook that game and display it for you inside of your canvas here. Okay, but the key is it has to be a full screen game. It cannot be in windowed. It cannot be a borderless. So that is the key. So any full screen game, you want to use game capture. This is the most the most efficient way of doing it. Okay, so this will cause the least load on your CPU. All right, so the second way that you can also display a game or a piece of software and application is through window capture. So window capture, if you add that, and you can again name it whatever you want, it will display whatever windows you have running in Windows at the time. Okay, so I've got, like for instance, I've got Firefox up, so I can actually display Firefox as a window capture, and you see it right there. I'm showing my Twitter account. You can do the same thing with games that you have in windowed mode. Okay, that's another way that you can display those. Now, this is less efficient than game capture, but it is better than using display capture. Now, display capture, it's the most resource heavy on your CPU. Okay, so display capture is simply choosing a display that you want to show on your stream. And as you can see here, I'm showing the only display I have on my game rig, and that is the one that's showing SLOBS right now. If you have multiple displays, they will show up in this pull down menu. It's very simple. Okay. All right. And so that's simple. Like I said, display capture is the most resource heavy. Window capture would be kind of the middle, and game capture is the best. But if you're running windowed or borderless, these are only two options you have available to show your game, because game capture will not lock on it. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll get rid of game capture. We don't need it. And we'll get rid of window capture. We don't need it. And we'll use display capture kind of as a showing everything here. So this is the full display. Let me close this. There we go. So you can see my desktop now. All right, so we have this as a background. Now, another way that you can capture gameplay, and this is if you have a dedicated streaming rig, or you may, there are some people that do have a capture device built into their game rig too. But you can use a video capture device. Now here, all you would do is you would click on video capture device, you would add source, and you're done. Now here I have a camera set up, but if you have an Elgato, for instance, it would show up in this list. And you can go in, you can configure the video, and it will go to your device's software, and then you could use that to configure everything up. So that's pretty much it's that simple. As you can see here, it automatically picked my webcam for me. But like I said, Elgato, AverMedia, any of those devices, Blackmagic, would all show up under here. And the great thing about OBS is it supports those natively. So you don't have to have any extra software, which in the past was not an option. You had to have separate software that the vendor made that you could then add as a source here. Now, since I've got my camera up, let's go ahead and show you real quick, because people are going to want to know, hey, you have a green screen. How do you do chroma key? All right, well, it's very simple. All you got to do is right click and go to filters. Okay, so here you have a list of different filters that you can apply to your webcam. So here, let's go ahead. I'm not going to do face mask. That's so goofy. But you may do that. I'll show you what it'll do. You can add a face mask plugin. Should throw some crazy thing up there. There you go. I got a Streamlabs hat. Streamlabs glasses. That's hot. Sheriff's hat. I wonder if there's a pirate hat. Oh! I got a pirate hat. Yeah, we got a pirate hat. There we go. All right, so likewise, you can also do a chroma key. So let's go ahead and add a chroma key filter. Where is the chroma key? There we go. So I got chroma key, and now what you do is you need to play around with the key color type. So here you got a few different options. Custom, you can actually pick the color, but you're going to have to know exactly what the color is. Unfortunately, with Streamlabs OBS, they do not have a color picker tool that I can see. So you have to kind of guesstimate what your color is. Or you can just go to the standard options and then play with the similarity and try to get it adjusted as best as possible. And that's obviously not right. So just kind of got to play with it. Yeah. Very sensitive. You got to be real sensitive. That's probably pretty good. Pretty good about right there. check the spillover real quick. Anyway, so there you go. And I've got this white cord that's running behind me in case you might wonder. And so that's a chroma key. It's very simple to set up. It's not hard at all. You can also crop this. All you need to do is hold the Alt key and then left click and drag down, and you can crop as necessary. You can see my hat way up. Alt cropping is a normal thing in OBS. They transferred this over to Streamlabs OBS, thank goodness, because it's awesome. So that is the different ways that you can, capture gameplay, or in this case, capture me on a camera using a video capture device. So that is all the ways that you can display your gameplay. So if you have an capture card like AverMedia or Elgato, this is where you would go to get that to show up. So let's see. So we got that. All right. So since we got my camera up here, let's go ahead and resize it. So and I'm not blocking everything. So the second second set of sources that we're going to talk about is images and media sources, and this is kind of the basic ways that you would do your overlay. Your overlay being whatever you're going to use to decorate your live stream, to frame your scene in. You see a lot of people with some pretty elaborate ones. You see some that are very minimalistic, and there's a number of ways that you can go about doing this. Now, if you wanted to do an image, and we'll call this static overlay, because that's basically what you'd be using these for. If you have an image that it just doesn't do anything, you would go and let's pull up something. I'm just going to grab an old file I no longer use that I tried using back in the day, but just to give you an idea of what you can do, I am going to grab actually this is a way old. I haven't used this in forever. So here's an overlay, and let me turn off display capture so you can get an idea. And this is an overlay that I used way back in the day. And so here would be where I would put my display, which if I were to bring this up and resize it, it would show up there. And likewise, if I wanted to use my video capture device, you could put that up here. Grabbed it. Let me lock this. You can lock these so they don't move, and then you don't have to worry about actually let me unlock it because I've just totally screwed it up. There we go. Now I'll lock it again so that you can't screw with it, and then you can move these other things and not worry about moving your thing. So there you go. You got a frame here that I can use for my webcam. And then, like, for instance, if you wanted to put a chat box or something, you can have the chat box right there. Okay, so that is kind of what a static overlay or an image file could be used for. If you actually wanted to display an image, you could do that. There's also a slideshow that you could do, an image slideshow, if you wanted to do something like that. But this is definitely one way that you can display an overlay. Likewise, if you have a whole lot of different pieces to build an overlay, like you have a lower frame, you have a camera frame, you have an upper frame, but they're all separate files, and what you would do is you would just make 3 image sources and select each of those different image files that you have, and then you can be able to move them around and place them as necessary independently from each other. The second way that you can do this is you can also, and I'll tell you what, let me hide this guy. All right, so restore him. And we'll move my camera back down here. All right, so the second way that you can build an overlay is by use of media files. So here you would do a media source, and this is going to be a movie, an MP4, MP3, WAV file, those sort of things. And you can also build overlays this way. Now I'm going to use what I'm using currently on my main stream, and that is a file from my affiliate Nerd or Die. You can go to nerdordie.com and check out their products. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, but they're all really cheap and they're quality stuff. So I would recommend, if you're looking for some ways to integrate stuff, and I'm trying to look for the file here. So here is my reloaded Nerd or Die, and let's see, overlay. So we'll do this reloaded overlay blank animated. It's an MOV file, and you can see this is the preview of it. And what you'll want to do here is make sure, if you want to keep this displayed all the time, make sure you select the loop. That's important. If you don't, then it'll play out for however long the file was designed for, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, a minute. And once it's done, it'll disappear. So make sure, if you want to keep it displayed, make sure you check that loop. Okay, so, and there's my file right there. So what you can do is you can go down here and you know, that would be a piece of your overlay. So this one little section right here just kind of gives you an element to your overlay. Now inside of this little gray area, you can put your name. You can put here, you could put like what I have designed is I have stream alerts you know, showing up here on the bottom, and those are all separate sources using a text source, okay, which we'll go over here in a second. But you can see this is how you know, just another way that you can actually build an overlay. Now if you had an upper piece that was the same thing, you could, you know, add that as a separate source and put that up here. If you had a camera frame that had some sort of media component to it where this little lighting goes across, that would be another source that you could add in here. So that's just, you know, just kind of give you an idea of how you would make an overlay inside OBS. Okay, it's just like Photoshop. When you have layers in Photoshop to build a composite image of different things that you want to show, this is how this works in OBS too. You're layering all your different pieces to make one big scene. Okay, and that's how it works. So now let's go ahead and show you what you can do with a text. So I'm going to go to text here. I'm going to add a text source, and I'll call this TFS Punisher because that's what I want it to say. All right, so here you get a UI, and it's a basic text UI, so you can choose what font you want. And let's just go. We'll go Arial Black. We'll go font styles regular. We'll use the font size 36. Okay, and we'll talk about this read from file here in a second. This is important for certain aspects. You can do your color. You can add a gradient if you want. You can do an opacity. You can change and you can put an outline. Okay, there's all kinds of things you can do here. And what you want is go ahead and type it in the text area. And let's go ahead and bust the color out here. I mean, there's all kinds of colors you can pick. But let's go with that. Let's just do something green so it's easy to see. Not really concerned about the actual color. This is all for learning purposes anyway here. So, but you can put a you know, a TFS Punisher down here. Now I've got this before. Now you see the snapping, got snapping on here. One thing I recommend, if you have a source that you're messing around with and you want to do fine tuning on it, use your keyboard arrow keys. It's the best thing to do for any fine adjustments instead of trying to use your mouse. I always use that. So that's how you can use a text file, is to display a name. Also, if you're using Streamlabs, Streamlabs, okay, it's a third-party app you can download from Streamlabs, And that will build a library of text files based on different metrics like current followers or latest followers, session followers, recent donations, subscribers, all that different things. Pretty much everything you could think of that you want an alert for here, that you want to display on your overlay, Streamlabs has it. And that would be another text source that you would use. So here you go to text, GDI plus, you click on that, name it, I don't know, most recent follower. Okay, and add a new source. So let's use, we'll use Arial Black again. Let's keep the theme there. And instead of going and typing anything, what you're going to do is you're going to read from file. Because what Streamlabs do is when you run that program, it'll update a bunch of those text files that you have set up. And what you'll do is you'll go to wherever those are located. So here again, I have this installed on my Stream Rig under my documents and Streamlabs here, and you can see there's all these little text files. Okay, that this automatically generates when you install and start up Streamlabs. Okay, so I'm going to find most recent follower. So there it is right there, most recent follower, and I'll click open. So now it just does it, it goes and searches for that URL. Okay, and then it's done. So here is my most recent follower, and I'm going to pull them down right here. Okay, so that is most recent follower. Now let's add another text source, and I'll call it most recent follower label. All right, now I'll go and say recent or latest follower. We'll call it latest follower. Shorten it up here. And so this is a static that will never change, but when you get a new follower, this little file will change. Okay, so that is and you could do, I mean, if you wanted to change this to a different color just to make it stand out from, whatever else, if you wanted to add an outline to it. Yeah, just to make it stand out. You can do that. And, of course, you can move it around, do everything you can do to make it look good, and get it where you need it to get. And so that's how it is. I mean, and so you would go and you would build a different source for each of these. If you had like 3 different alerts that you wanted displayed from donations or subs, followers, you would make an image source, or a text source for the label, a text source for the actual alert itself. And I mean, you could get pretty crazy with them. There could be a number of these, that you have. But just keep in mind, that's just the kind of the thing that you would have to do with this. So let's see. So that is text sources. Let's see what else. Image source. All right, browser source. This is another important. Okay, browser source is any URL fed source off of the internet. Streamlabs uses this. So if you're using OBS Studio, browser source is very important because that is how you get Streamlabs alerts and all that stuff put into your scene. Fortunately, we have Streamlabs OBS, so we don't necessarily have to worry about this. But I'm going to show you this anyway because if you ever want to show a YouTube video, this is one way to do it. Simply typing in, go in your browser source, putting in the URL of the YouTube video, the resolution that you want it show up in, and you can set that here, the frame rate, and then boom, there's your browser source. Now this is the OBS website. This comes up by default. I'm almost surprised Streamlabs didn't put theirs in. Well, with that being said, that is what browser source is it allows you to display a browser inside of your inside of your scene here. Streamlabs uses this in a dashboard here if you were to go to different widgets like Alert Box, you can take the URL right here, copy this URL, and then you can go to your browser source here and put that URL in there. And I'll just do Control-C, Control-V. And so now you have this box, and this is a blank box until you actually, have an alert. Okay, so I have set up my alerts already, so I can go into this test widget area, and I can do a test follow. And that's where it shows up. So, I mean, it's that easy. That's how they work. Same thing for subscriptions, donation, bits, and host. But the good thing is you don't really have to worry about that for Streamlabs OBS, and I'll show you why here in just a second. So we'll get rid of that. And now let's go ahead and let's see. I'm going to look at other things. Let's see. We've talked about all these. Audio input and output captures. You may use these, you may not. If you want a dedicated audio channel for music that you can control the volume on OBS to what your viewers are hearing, you can make an audio. I think it's output capture, and you can capture playback audio from an audio source like Windows Media Player, Spotify. There's some ways to do certain things like Spotify. You can actually reroute audio Spotify signal using third-party applications, and so you can route it using a virtual audio cable to one of these audio output captures, and then you would have a dedicated music channel. Likewise, you could do the same thing with Streamlabs HQ's chatbot. It has audio routing built into it, so if you have a song list that you're playing or song requests, you can have that routed to this dedicated audio channel, and you can control the volume that you want your viewers to be listening to, so that it doesn't drown out your microphone or your game. So that would be what you would use these for. A couple of ideas anyway. There's various things that you could actually do. All right, so now we've talked about this left side, and we've talked about all the really important stuff. Color source, that's something if you wanted to add like a background color as a foundation to your stream, you could do that. But let's talk about widgets. Now, I briefly went over the dashboard area. Dashboard area here is something if you want to use Streamlabs widgets within your scene, then you're going to need to go to your dashboard, and you're going to need to go through and set all these up. It takes a little bit of time. I do have a separate video that goes over the basic ones here that would be what I would consider essential to your scene, and it shows you how to go through and set everything up. It's very simple, and I'll post a link to that in the comments. But once you have all these set up, okay, they are easy to set up in here because, like I said, you have sources here, and as long as you're logged in under your Twitch account, then you can go and build a source, your alert box, and you can just add that source, and you're automatically done, and it's there. Again, I've already set mine up with my custom graphics, and it should show up there. Pretty simple, right? That's as simple as it gets. They've built that right into Streamlabs OBS. All right, so now I've gone and changed my hat, and I want to talk about a couple more sources. You got events list. I like event list because it allows you to see things you might have missed. If you've missed a follow alert, a sub alert, or something like that, the event list is kind of a log of what's going on. And you can set up how many events you actually want it to display. But it is really nice, and I always like doing this. I stick it up in the corner up here, and resize it if you need to. Don't need it to take up your whole thing, but just keep it up in the corner there, because if you miss an alert, you can look on the event list, and the latest one will always show up at the bottom. And you have a list of what you can so you can acknowledge followers, acknowledge subscribers, hosts, donations, all that stuff right there. So I really like Events List a lot. It's very helpful. And then if you are a big tip jar person and you have a lot of your viewers that give you tips or biddies, I like to call them biddies, or cheers, you can have this tip jar. Okay, again, this is all set up inside your dashboard here. And once you have it set up, you know, like right here, you have the jar. You know, you can have different things displayed. You know, you can see all the UI here. Once you have it all set, then boom, you have it right here, and it will work as people give you cheers on your Twitch chat, which is awesome. So those are what Streamlabs considers the essentials, and I agree. You can also set up these things here. Chat box is another one that you see a lot of people use. Okay. And again, you can resize it as necessary. You see it shows up as a blank here, but if you were to actually go in, log in, I can do a test message. It should show up. So there you go. And that's what it did right there. So that is what your chat box does. You see a lot of people use this on their stream. I was using it at one point. I no longer use it anymore because I'm just really minimalistic when it comes to my game stream. Okay, so that is really sources in a nutshell. It's really everything. You see all these other things you can do, like a spin wheel. That's a new thing they just added with this latest update. Stream Boss is for whoever's donated the most bits, and it gives people the chance to knock them off their pedestal. You can set all kinds of goals. But the essentials of what I think most people will use on their scene, I've gone over, and I hope that helps you out. Now, when it comes to other scenes you can use, you'll see people that have different scenes, like a Be Right Back scene, or an intermission scene, or a starting stream scene, or an ending stream scene. They will add those various scenes by just going in and making a new scene and calling it, I'll call, like I always call mine startup. All right, and then you can just go in and you can add a, you know, either an image or a media source or an image source. But you know, you can have anything. I mean, if you wanted to start up, I used to show videos of old gameplay that I could do, that I would start up, and then you'd have a text thing here saying starting soon. You can put a timer on there if you want. There's anything that you can do. But you can do things, same thing for InSlide. You can have a music dedicated to your Spotify, that audio output. You can, you know, add that as a source and have Spotify music playing in the background. There's a number of things that you can do with these different scenes. But typically, most people will have a gameplay scene. They'll have a startup scene. They'll have an ending stream scene, some sort of intermission scene. And if you're like me and you do podcasts, well, then you have a ton of scene collections for podcasts where I can have a whole bunch of different things. So that would be how you would use your scenes and scene collections. It's pretty easy. To go ahead and set back up, let's go ahead and just set up a game scene real quick again. I want to show you one thing that Streamlabs has done to really make life easy for you. If you're not graphically inclined and you don't have all these custom graphics that you want for your scene, and you're lazy, or you're just inept like me and just don't know how to do the graphics, Streamlabs made things really easy because they have provided a library of different overlays that you can use with their built-in stream labels and everything already integrated. It's just a matter of you going in and picking your favorite one with your color scheme and adding it to your editor. So I'm going to do, because I like the minimalist transparent, I simply select. Now you can see here it has 3 different scenes. Okay, this is a Be Right Back slide, a starting soon slide, and this is a gameplay slide, or live slide, what do you call it. All you do is hit install, and it's updating everything and giving it everything that you need with all of your specific settings for your account. and it'll take you to the editor, and boom, there you have it. It even puts the webcam inside of the cam frame, or at least it tries to, as much as it can. But you can see you've got top donation, you've got latest donation, latest follower, recent subscriber. I mean, all that stuff is there. You got your name here that you can go in and add something to it if you want to. You've got a chat box here. It's, you know, everything's here, and you can see all these separate sources here. That is here. It says add. That's just a static picture. I tell you what, let me delete this. And I'll add a media source, and I'll put that gameplay in there like I did before. Okay. You can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. And you can, if you want to sort these around and move these, you can just left click and drag these all the way down. And so that kind of gives you an idea of what these different things look like. You know, now of course you would move all these around, and you have the ability to do so simply by going in and clicking on each of these different things and moving them, you know, wherever you want. Or you can get rid of them. You don't have to have them. If you don't want the frame for your camera, then you can just delete it. You know? So that's really it, guys. Make sure you use use this library, guys. If you're not huge into doing a bunch of graphics and you don't want to go through the pain of setting up everything custom, I mean, there is a ton of options that you can filter by different game categories, by what they have included with the different scene collections, whether they're animated or static. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's pretty neat, the different filters they've got and the different designs that they have for the various games that we play. So go out there and give them a shot. Matter of fact, they just added 100 today for the new updates. There's brand new ones out there we haven't even looked at. But that's really it, guys. That is sources and scenes in a nutshell. Like I said, I hope you get out there and give it a shot. It's a lot of fun going and designing these things. And when you get a little more used to it and fluid with it, where everything's located, you can go in and you can actually build you a pretty nice scene fairly quickly. So, guys, if you have any questions, make sure you hit me up. I apologize again. This is actually a pretty lengthy video, but it covers a lot of information that new streamers really need to know about when it comes to Streamlabs OBS. For you new guys out there, or I should say, for the guys that are used to using OBS in the past, it's not really so much new information for you, but it is a different way of getting around to those sources that you used to see in OBS Studio. All right, so with that being said, guys, thank you. I do appreciate it. This is Punter Frugal Streamer. We'll see you out there. Bye-bye.